Yes, this is the 1965 Trojans are here tonight trying to win a championship, down to 4 plays. We're leading 12-9, under a minute to go. The drillers have the ball. They've recovered an onside kick. They're driving down the field with ending up inside our 10-yard line with 6 seconds left in the game. The quarterback goes back to pass, throws the ball. Steve Johnson makes a miraculous interception, falls out of the end zone. The gun goes off, and we break a 27-game win streak, win the SYL championship. And if you look, the fans are delirious, pouring onto the field. This is a David and Goliath night. The little kids from Foothill, just a 4-year school, barely open in the old established driller tradition, and certainly a wonderful team. And we made history that night. And that is why this little band of Trojans that you see on the stage tonight is so special, and they're going in the Hall of Fame. Against all odds, they persevered and gave something very, very few people could do, and they've earned their place in Foothill's Hall of Fame and made us all very proud.
Hello, my name is Gary Blackford, and I'm here today to talk about Chuck Harricker. Chuck Harricker was my Jack Frost coach back in 1970, so I guess that was like 44 seasons ago this year. One of the things that I mostly remember about Chuck Harricker was just the quality of individual that he was. He not only taught all the young boys that played for him about sports and sportsmanship, but he taught you just generally how to be a good person. We started every practice and ended practice with a prayer, the same way with our games. But Chuck was very competitive on the field. He taught all of us to go out there and play hard and to play our best. Chuck's going to be remembered for a lot of things, and a lot of times stats and statistics get out there first. The one stat or statistic that you won't see is all the things that Chuck did along the way, as far as every day picking up players for practice, making sure they were there.
Rashawn Sheehy came to Foothill only for 1 year, came from us from down south. He came to Foothill, and Kevin Keys, his relative here, told me, Ned, you're getting a pretty darn good football player. And I didn't realize how good until he came out. And once he was out, I felt like, man, I hit the California lottery in athletics. He is something else. I mean, and I became a lot smarter as a football coach immediately. He was an outstanding 3-sport athlete at Foothill, not just in football, but basketball and track. And he was so good in all 3 that he was the TIAC, voted the TIAC award as the outstanding Kern County athlete. But he really excelled in football, where he was the all-city back of the year. And Rashawn, as a senior, scored 30 touchdowns, and he scored 5 in a league in a playoff game, and once we went to the playoffs. And he set a single season rushing record one time there. I'll never forget, he was playing in the Aloha Bowl against Michigan State, and they were coached by Nick Saban. Well, Rashawn was playing against Nick Saban's Michigan State team, and he had 178 yards and destroyed him. And after the game, Nick Saban said, you know, that guy is something special. We just don't see a back like him in the Big Ten. So I think that tells you he was just an outstanding Chevy Player of the Week, I think, against Notre Dame and these schools, and he just had a great career. And he was good enough as a college player to attract the attention of the pros, and he had a nice career with the Kansas City Chiefs for 3 years and 1 year in the XFL. And he comes back now, and Rashawn is really looked up to in the community because he's a tremendous, what you would call, counselor of fitness, and directing people's lives towards getting in shape and taking care of their bodies, and he has a great following, and he does a super job, and we're just honored and thrilled that he picked Foothill High School for 1 year, because he certainly made a big impact, played on a championship team, and just a wonderful person to coach. He could do it all. He could run, catch passes, throw passes, block, play defense. He was a coach's dream on and off the field. Congratulations, Rashawn.
Earlier today, we presented Foothill cross-country star Marianne Martinez with a plaque for her achievement. She's already won the SYL and area meet. She goes after the Valley title on Friday. She's won Valley last year. She also has won the SYL and area meets 3 times. We presented her coach, Ted Oliver, with the $500 check from Taco Bell for the school's athletic fund.
Mary's really outstanding. We keep about 35 records here at Foothill in cross country, and right now she holds 31 of them. And she's just been fantastic for the 4 years. I'm going through withdrawal symptoms right now, realizing she's a senior and not going to be here next year, but she's really a hard worker and a tough competitor and a very nice person to work with. She's just an ideal athlete.
Straight SYL championships. And Mary also has won the South Central Section Championship, and now it's time to go to Fresno for the state meet. And she looks to do well, probably placing the top 10.
Just to compete a little better than I have. It's my senior year, so just hopefully in the top 10, try to do my best. That's about all I can ask. I'm just going to try to run, like I did at Valley and, not be as nervous and just run the kind of race I should.
It was my pleasure during part of those years to have worked with Marianne Martinez. And in my opinion, and I know other coaches around the area will probably dispute this, but I think statistically speaking that Marianne probably is the second best distance runner in the Central Valley, with only Linda Goen of North High probably being better, than Marianne. So Marianne was just a fantastic person, a fantastic athlete. She's one of the, as a distance coach or track coach, we didn't get many people come to Foothill as distance runners. We usually had to recruit them out of PE or some way, talk to them, get them out on the team. But Marianne was one of the exceptions to that. She ran in junior high, and she was coached at that time by her uncle, Benji Lopez, who was also an ex-Foothill athlete and was a league champion in the high jump, but Benji was her coach. So she came to us with some experience. And right away, it was easy to see that she was a special talent. And without going into a lot of nitpicking details, Marianne lost 1 race in cross country in 4 years.
Neil Agnes was a fine football player at Foothill High School, but more than just a football player, he was also an outstanding wrestler, and he did track and field as well. Really a tough wrestler. I think he won the league, and he was an all-city lineman back then, and he got better and better as he went along. He went up to Bakersfield College, and he was not only their outstanding lineman, he was voted their most valuable player, and that's unheard of for a lineman. And he went on to receive All-American recognition at Bakersfield College, and that is quite an accomplishment. He went on to Cal, where he played 3 seasons of varsity ball at Cal. And at the time he was at Cal, he was also played for their rugby team, which was national champions. And he is a tough guy. He was, I look at photos of Neil Agnes and tackling Sam Bam Cunningham, the big USC back, when Cal upset him. And that was a big win for Cal. And not only rugby, I tell you what, if you play rugby at Cal like he does, and he stayed in rugby many years later, and I don't know, rugby to me, I mean, I know football's tough, but rugby to me is almost like at MMA, mixed martial arts. I don't know how those guys go out there and beat each other around, blood all over the place, and they go have a beer afterwards and hug each other. But Neil evidently liked that kind of stuff. And since then, he has come back and he's given so much to the community. And when he finished his career at Cal, he was good enough to get a pro offer. And back then they had the Hawaiian Islanders, which today would be a very good NFL team with the talent they had on it. And he played with some great ball players in Hawaii, and then I guess that league kind of folded up. But anyway, Neil has come back and he's running Allianz electronic waste disposal now, doing a great job, and he's really donates a huge amount of money and time to charities in Bakersfield, and he's really a community and civic leader. So Neil, congratulations and welcome to our Foothill Hall of Fame.
Her 4 years here at Foothill, I think they were league champion 3 years, and a large part of that was because with an athlete the caliber of Bo, a lot of people wanted to be on those teams. So physically she was just awesome. She was like, and again, I don't have the exact statistics here, but she was like league champion in the 100 and 200 and 4x1 relay for 4 straight years. So that's 16 league titles right there.
She is currently at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, and she's been the chief resident there since 2012. And you know, personally, we all just love Bo. She's you know, such a genuine person. She's very humble. Today, if you were to talk to her, you'd see that she's very giving. She's very much a person who looks to serve other people. I'm sure she's a great doctor, and she's made us all very, very proud here at Foothill to have known her, to know her, and to watch her become the woman that she is today, the scholar and the doctor that she is today. And she's just a great person. She's more than deserving of this award.
Bill Moore is a North High graduate, outstanding athlete at North High School. I remember when I coached against Coach Jordan Eliades over there, he had a guard by the name of Bill Moore, who was an all-city ball player, a great all-city ball player. Bill went on to Bakersfield College, had a great career there, went on down to San Diego State. And at San Diego State, he played with Coach Don Coryell and some of the best college teams, a lot of pro players down there over the years. And after he did that, he gravitated back to Bakersfield, and he came to Foothill High School as a teacher, and eventually Bill became a varsity assistant coach, and he put out a lot of great athletes. And I might mention that Bill Moore put in 16 years as a varsity assistant coach. That is a longevity record for putting up with Coach Ezell and myself, and he deserves a medal, I guess, for that. But he really put in a lot of years. He also was 8 years as assistant track coach, 2 years as a head track coach, and then he became the dean and assistant principal, and that all totals up to 34 years of dedicated duty to Foothill High School in administration, athletics, all phases. And now he is still serving the school during numerous projects, and he's involved with our Foothill Hall of Fame, and he is just very, very deserving of the honor of going in our Foothill Hall of Fame. John Clark was one tough individual who was not only an all-city football player. John was the kind of guy that in high school he played center, guard, and tackle. He did the same at Bakersfield College, and he could do the same at Fresno State. All the coaches said, this guy, we can put him anywhere and he can play. While at Foothill, John was not only a great football player, he was also, I think, a Valley Wrestling champ, just tougher than nails. He also was in track and field, and he just one of those guys that went to Bakersfield College, Fresno State, played 2 years starting at Fresno State, and then John went into coaching, and he coached at Hanford High, and he coached at Corcoran High. He won a Central Section Championship in 1995, and he sent many, many Division I ball players on from both those schools. He had the best coaching record at each of those schools, and it's very deserving that he is also in the Hanford High Hall of Fame and the Corcoran High Hall of Fame, and now he's going in the Foothill High Hall of Fame. And he was one of those fellows that tragically passed away way too young in life at 52 from leukemia, and he would have gone on and done so many more wonderful things. I had the opportunity to attend the celebration of his life, and they packed the whole fairgrounds, which was a tribute to how many people loved that man.
That's why. My name is Dan Shannon, and I coached basketball at Foothill High School back in the 80s, early 80s, and into the early 90s. And I had the pleasure of coaching Joe Turner. Joe first came to Foothill as a tall, kind of gangly basketball player. We knew that he was interested in playing. We'd heard that he played a lot of basketball, but he was young. He was very young and a bit immature at that time. But as we all know, he later grew into not only an outstanding person and community servant, but an outstanding basketball player. Joe was a bit timid when he came to us initially, but grew to become a very aggressive and a very prolific high school player. Matter of fact, Joe was arguably one of, I believe, the 3 or 4 best basketball players to ever play at Foothill High School.
Hi, my name is Mike Maggard, and I was fortunate to be a teammate with John Desbois back in high school, and I wanted to take a minute to say a couple things about John tonight. John was a wonderful teammate, and we played at a time at Foothill when it was kind of the golden era of football at Foothill, and outstanding athletes and teams were assembled year after year. And in John's senior year, there were 5 players on the team that would become the back or the lineman of the year in the SYL in the area. And John was one of those outstanding people, and we were all fortunate to play on outstanding teams back then. And I say that John was one of those 5 because even amongst those 5, John was somebody who you knew was different from the get-go. We were all pretty good-sized kids, but John was way bigger than the rest of us, way stronger than the rest of us, and way faster than the rest of us. And I don't think we realized at first the potential that he had to go way beyond where most of the rest of us would ever go. But John was a great teammate. He was hilarious. You couldn't spend any time in John's presence without having fun and laughing, and he was just kind of a gentle giant. I never remember seeing John be mean or spiteful, but man, did you want to see him across from you in the huddle, and did you want to see him in his quiet leadership style showing everybody else where to go on that field and set the example for all the rest of us.
Annual 5K run with students participating from all over Kern County. All real kids will be out on the outside. Get set!
My name is Mitch Willoughby, and I've known Jim Wooster for about 30 years. And I know he's being honored for being a great football player here at Foothill High School when he attended here in the late 60s. But there's much more to Jim Wooster than his football career. And I think it's important that everyone understand that, because a lot of the attributes that Jim had from football, he carried on with him during his career as a special ed school teacher where he taught special ed students for over 30 years. And those attributes were his passion, his dedication, and his commitment. You know, Jim recently retired after a 30-year career of teaching, and you know, his passion truly showed. Everyone knew how much he cared for his students, that he always referred to as his kids. You know, for me, he was the epitome of what we all want to see in a school teacher. He was a very knowledgeable man. He's always passionate, cared about those kids, and he was able to have an impact on his kids' lives.
I'm here to talk about Mr. Jewell, Ray Jewell. You know, I first met Mr. Jewell as a student in 1962, and he was here as a original member of the Foothill staff. And all I remember about him at that point was he had a really deep sounding voice. He was a football coach, and he was kind of gruff And that's kind of the way I remember. I think I even took a class from Mr. Jewell. You know, I got to know Ray really well when I was the principal here at Foothill. Ray had gone to West High School after Foothill. 1965, he actually opened West High as well. And he stayed there until about 1977. In fact, I was on staff at West High. Got hired there as an English teacher. And about the time I was coming, he was leaving. And he took a 10-year hiatus from teaching and did business for himself. But in the late 80s, he came back, and he was hired at Foothill High School, and then I came along a little bit after that. You know, Ray did a lot of things in his career. First of all, he was an outstanding teacher. He was an excellent teacher. He opened the CAD lab, our drafting program, our computer-assisted drafting program. It wasn't uncommon for Mr. Jewell to have as many as 50 students in that class. And every year he would, his students would enter projects in the state fair. And they always came home with a lot of trophies and made us all very, very proud. But it was an outstanding program. And Ray worked really hard at that. And he got to be known around the district as one of the outstanding drafting teachers. He also, later in his career, was honored as Teacher of the Year. This was a National Teacher of the Year award, and it was given by the Career Academy Coalition. It was a national organization that recognized Ray, and he was selected from over 500 teachers to receive this award. He went back to Miami, I believe, to a big conference back there and received that award. Well, Ray's done a lot of things in his career. He's certainly known as an outstanding wrestling coach and was inducted into the California Wrestling Hall of Fame here just recently.
I remember Ted Armijo as a young athlete, came out, a receiver. He played on our team back in 1968. He was an all-league receiver, and that was saying something back then because we didn't throw the ball real well on that particular season, and we really weren't the greatest team in the world, but Teddy was able to overcome that, and he got better every year. Every year, Teddy, the higher he went up the ranks, the better he became. Ted went on up where he was at Bakersfield College, and he had an outstanding career there as a defensive back, and then he went on to Long Beach State, and there he had 11 interceptions in one season, which was second in the nation, which is quite a feat, and that gained him honorable mention All-American.
You can't talk about the success of Max Odom as a wrestler without first mentioning the important role and commitment that his parents, Mike and Sandy, made to Max and the sport of wrestling. Mike and Sandy drove him up and down the state. Some say that Mike at times tied a rope to Max and had him pull the truck up in the mountains just to get into wrestling condition. Also, you need to talk about his older brother, Dustin Odom, who also wrestled for Foothill High School. Dustin, pound for pound, is arguably one of the strongest wrestlers to come out of Foothill. I'd compare him with a Mike Dallas or Jeremy Maness at just one of the strongest, toughest wrestlers I've ever coached. Also, his older sister, Melanie. So between Melanie and Dustin, Max was well prepared to have success as a wrestler and compete in this sport.
Hi, I'm Connie Preston. I'm a graduate of 1975 at Foothill High School. Amazing group of people that I graduated with, but there were some influential people in the staff that really made a lifelong impression on me. And one of those people was Jerry Robinson. I remember the influence he had as an ASB advisor. In our meetings, he would give us so much good advice, and he didn't tell us what to do or how to do it. He led like a carrot and gave us ideas, and we could make them blossom and make them our own.
So looked at Jerry as a mentor from the coaching aspect, because I started out as a frosh-off coach, And then through the years, working with Jerry, I kind of graduated up and I spent my last 7 years coaching at the varsity level. He also had a great influence on the other younger coaches on staff because he had the experience and coached at all the different levels. He was just a father figure to me personally. He helped me through some personal times in my life, and I could always depend on him to come through with whatever I needed. He was just a great friend.
Where I really came to know Jerry Robinson was as a young man involved in student government, student politics here on campus at Foothill. Jerry was the student activities director and was the person in charge of student government. And in my senior year, I was fortunate to become the student body president of Foothill High School. And Jerry, I say that because it's how I got to know Jerry and where Jerry really had the biggest impact on my life.